I'm here with my neighbor Oscar. I've known you for about 6 months now, and before the video started, I said I was curious if a 21st century man could read a couple of verses of the Bible and basically understand what they mean. And you said you'd be a good sport for me and you were willing to read them. So, Oscar, I'd like to give you the first verse. This comes from Romans chapter 3, verse 23. Could you be so kind as to read that part that's in yellow?
Sure. For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God.
All right, excellent. Oscar, what's that mean to you? Who have sinned?
For we have all sinned. I mean, we do commit sins, and
You and me both,
yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah, you
Yes.
got it. You got it. Let's move on to our next verse. It's right on the next page. This is chapter 5, verse 8.
But God demonstrates His own love toward us, in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us.
All right. What's that mean to you? How do you interpret that verse? While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us.
That He basically died for us. We committed sins. He's aware that people do sin, and that He's forgiven us, and He's taking care of our sins for us and paying them for us in a different way.
Good, thank you. We're going to move on to now, this is Romans chapter 6, verse 23, if you could read that part that's highlighted in yellow.
For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus our Lord.
All right. Again, what's that say to you, Oscar?
I guess what we're saying is after death, we gonna live another life, something like similar to that, or
Okay, so you think like a
there's
reincarnation?
like a reincarnation or something like that.
Okay. Do you want to just try reading that one more time? Just read
let me see
that.
it.
Try that one more time.
For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus our Lord.
All right. So the paycheck for sin is death, and that's separation from God. But the eternal life, or the gift, is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. What do those words mean to you?
Basically, you're going to heaven. You will be going to heaven, and you're going to live another eternal life. You're going to go the gates. I would say the golden gates.
The golden gates. All right. Let's go to one final verse in the book of Romans. This comes from chapter 10. And this is starting with verse 9 in the yellow, please.
That if you confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in your heart that God has raised Him from the dead, you will be saved.
All right. And then that final verse there in the yellow.
For whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved.
All right. And we'll come to that just 1 second. I want to just look at this one verse in Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 12.
Read it.
Yeah.
Okay. But as many as received Him, to them He gave the right to become children of God.
All right. Now, Oscar, you might go to the doctor and he might prescribe medicine for you to get well, but if you don't receive or swallow the medicine, you don't get well.
Right.
And it's the
right.
same with Jesus Christ. When we receive Him as Lord and Savior, we get saved, we get forgiven of our sins. But if we only believe in our head that Jesus died on the cross and rose on Easter, we won't get saved. You have to receive Him, not just believe, but also receive. And I think the one final verse, this is John 3:16, the most famous verse in all the Bible. It kind of summarizes, I think, everything you read and commented on. Could you read John 3:16 out loud?
Sure. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whoever believes in Him should not perish, but have everlasting life.
All right, great, Oscar. How do you interpret that verse? God loved you. He gave His only begotten Son, Jesus, to die on the cross, that if you believe, you won't perish in hell, but you'll have everlasting life in heaven. What do those words say to you? How do you interpret them?
Well, basically that He's basically dying for us to believe in God and accept Him, because He's died for us so we can believe in God. I mean, just to follow Him. I would imagine.
Yeah, all right.
Similar to that.
Well, Oscar, as I said, I really, really do appreciate you reading these verses and interpreting them for me, the way how they're, what they mean to you. What I'd like to do after this video stops, buy you a Starbucks and we could talk a little bit more. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right,
good.
all right. Thank you,
Glad
my
I can
friend.
help.
All right, God bless you.
Thanks. Thank you.